Hey guys, this is Coach Policino. How's everyone doing tonight? Uh, I hope everyone's doing all right. I hope everyone's doing, being healthy, being active. Uh, I miss all you guys. What I'm going to do with you guys today is just like last week, where we started doing some enrichment products. We talked about bocce last week. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about bowling. Um, Still trying to play around with all this new technology and stuff like that. So I'll post this on to our Google Classroom, and there'll be an exit ticket waiting at the end. You can fill that out, pass it in. Again, it's completely optional. I hope you guys are all doing your time capsule projects for Durfee. Uh, and you know that this is completely optional and graded, but it's there because it's an activity that we do when we get to school, and it's something that we can continue to do with when we get back. All right, and I do look forward to that. All right, so obviously we're going to be talking about bowling. Um, Today's objective. All right, so at the end of this presentation, the big part of this is going to be demonstrating how to score a basic game 10-pin bowling. A lot of times we go, bowling over, at the bowling alley, and a lot of the times it is done by computer. So a lot of times we get to class and we don't really understand the basics of what it takes to score an actual game of bowling. Um, I'm not going to teach you obviously about bowling in this presentation because I think a lot of you guys know what bowling is. All right. Again, it's an activity that we do that's popular at a school. Um, but also at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about differences in 10-pin, candlepin, and duckpin bowling, all which are all different types of bowling that you could encounter, especially in this area where you guys are unique and unique part of Massachusetts where you can access a lot of this stuff. All right. So just like bocce, all right, bowling is classified as a target sport. Okay, so again, we have a target, we're aiming for that target, all right, and we're performing some sort of skill. In this case, we're rolling a ball at our target. Um, it is originated as a sport, all right, that started in ancient Egypt, okay, around 5000 BC. So it's been a long, long time. This is a very, very old game. The modern day version of bowling is obviously very different than what they were doing back in ancient Egypt. Okay, and it's also a lifelong activity, just like bocce was. All right, this is that kind of category of games where you can do this, well into your late stages of life. I do it now as an older adult, where I go on Thursday nights and I bowl in a league. All right, and the ages range from people younger than me to people very, very older than me. It is something that we can do later on in life once we leave high school. Okay, very social game. Okay, you can gather up your friends. You guys can play a couple strings of bowling. But there's three main bowling types that you can find in our area specifically. All right, the first one is 10-pin bowling. 10-pin bowling obviously is probably the most popular one. All right, this is the one that most people know. You can find it probably in every state in the country. You can find it on ESPN. There's NCAA bowling. It's all revolved around 10-pin bowling. These are the ones where the balls are rather larger, and the pins, as you can see in the picture, are about twice the size of the ball in that kind of hourglass shape. It's probably what most of you listening here probably are adapted to. You can probably find more of these alleys probably anywhere else in the country. Very, very popular, like Iowa, Ohio, all right, that kind of area of the country in the middle, all right. Candlepin bowling, okay, so that second picture there is very, very different, but it's very popular in New England, so you can find a lot of places in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island, where they play candlepin bowling, all right, and you can see why they call it that. The pins are very, very thin, okay, where and the ball is very, very small. Okay, and we're going to get into some other differences between the three, okay, in just a second. All right, but that's probably the main visual difference between the three of them. All right, and then the last one we'll talk about is duck pin bowling, which is actually very popular in Rhode Island, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, Connecticut. Um, you can find places like this once you go into Rhode Island. Not too many places in Massachusetts anymore. There were a handful. A lot of them are starting to close down. Unfortunately, it's not too popular. All right, so some houses are still open, but you see that within the last 10, 15 years, a lot of duck pin bowling alleys have closed down. Unfortunately, it's actually my favorite type of bowling. If you ever get a chance, you can go right into Warren. And there's one right when you cross into the city there. Um, the biggest similarity between these three, okay, you can kind of see, looking at the picture, right, with duck pin bowling, is the pins are very similar to 10 pin bowling, but they're about half the size. All right, so they're a lot shorter, all right, but they still have that hourglass shape. And the ball is actually a little bit bigger than the candlepin bowling ball, all right, but much, much smaller than a 10-pin bowling ball. All right, but the biggest similarity between the three of these here is the way you score. All right, the way you score is very, very similar. All right, you're adding up total pinfall over the course of 10 frames of bowling. All right, and we're going to get into scoring because that's kind of the big part of this here. With each of these three, though, there's rule differences that kind of are unique to the different sports. When a pin falls, okay, and it's on the alley, laying on its side, all right, that they actually call it wood. All right, that pin turns into wood. And depending on what type of bowling you're playing, all right, that the way you deal with that, all right, is going to be different. All right, in 10-pin bowling and duck pin bowling, okay, you get rid of the wood right away. All right, so you roll your ball. All right, you knock down a bunch of them. There's still a few of them up. What you're going to do is you're going to press the pin setter. Okay, they're going to lift up the ones that are already up. Okay, they're going to come and sweep out the ones into the gutter so it's out of the way. All right, and then put back down the ones that are still standing. All right, so we can go again. But in candlepin bowling, that doesn't happen. All right, you can actually use the wood to your advantage. You roll the ball. All right, you knock down five are still standing up. And you can actually use the pins that are standing on its side, all right, to actually knock down the rest of them. All right, so the strategy is a little bit different between the three of them. One of the similarities between the three also is that on either side of the alley, there are gutters. Okay, so once the ball goes in the gutter, it's no matter what happens, it's going to be a zero. It doesn't count. Sometimes, depending on the alley and how hard you're throwing and stuff like that, you can see the ball pop out of the gutter and hit some pins. All right, those pins don't count, depending on where you are. All right, in the house rules and stuff like that. So it depends on where you're playing. The rules will change with that, but most of the time you're going to be able to set those pins back up and redo it. Okay, so. Again, it depends on where you're playing and stuff like that. If you're just playing with friends, it probably doesn't matter. All right. But usually when you play in a league setting or competitive setting, the ball cannot come out of the gutter. All right. So those are the big differences and similarities between the three. All right. So when we talk about scoring, we're going to talk about primarily 10-pin bowling. Okay. In 10-pin bowling, you only get 2 rolls. Okay. So you can only roll the ball twice. In the other 2, you can roll the ball 3 times. So candlepin bowling, duck pin bowling, you can roll the ball 3 times, and that's just a little bit different. All right, but the rules are still going to be the same. Going to this next slide here, the basics are still going to be the same. So the 3 main ideas are going to be that you're going to have to know how to score a strike, all right, know how to score a spare, and how to add total pinfall. Okay, so the 2 big marks that you got to know, all right, and that's the phrase for these, all right, are marks because they don't look like numbers or anything, all right, is a strike, which is like an X on the score sheet. All right, a strike is going to equal 10 pins plus the next 2 rolls. All right, so you roll a strike, and we'll go over this in a second, but you roll a strike, and whatever you do on the next 2 balls are going to be added to that frame. All right, so it's going to be 10 pins plus if you get 4 on the next roll and 3 on the roll after that, it's going to be 10 plus 7, 17 in addition to that previous frame. So we'll get to that in just a second. All right, and the other one that we have is a spear. Okay, spear is going to equal 10 pins plus the next 1 roll. Okay, so just a little difference between the 2 of them. Okay, but you got to know the differences between all that. Okay, this is a frame. All right, so this box right here, okay, is one frame. Okay, you put 10 of them together, you get a string. And we'll take a look at that in just a second. What we'll see is with the red arrow, okay, the red arrow is going to point to the frame number. So what frame you're in. Uh, there's going to be 10 of them in a game, okay, or 10 of them in a string. And depending on how you're playing, you're either going to do just one frame at a time. All right, so you'll bowl once, and then your partner will bowl, okay, and then you'll bowl again. Sometimes the league settings, they'll do two of them, so you'll bowl twice. All right, so you'll bowl frames 1 and 2. All right, then your partner will bowl frames 1 and 2, and then you'll come back and you'll do 3 and 4. All right, and they'll do 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. Okay, the green line. All right, so you see that you have two little boxes inside the big box. The green arrow there is going to be your first ball. So what you get on your first ball, okay? The blue arrow there is going to be the second ball. So whatever you roll on the second ball. And then the bottom arrow there, the black arrow, is going to be total pinfall, which is the cumulative score of everything you've done. In the first box, it's just adding up the first and second ball. All right, but when you get to boxes 2, 3, 4, and so on, all right, you're adding in everything from the previous frame also. Okay, so let's take a look on how that's actually going to look. All right, so we have a blank scorecard here. All right, again, you put 10 frames together. All right, you get a string. Okay, so you have 10 frames. And you're going to put your bowler's name all the way on the left side. Okay, and then you'll notice that you have the two scoring boxes here, 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 all the way up to 10. All right, the 10th, you can actually have 3 boxes because of the way strikes and spares work. You might need to roll 3 times rather than just once. All right, we'll get to that at the end, okay? We'll see. All right, so let's go through a game here. All right, so in the first box, all right, we'll say that I roll the ball. Again, this is 10 pin, so we're only rolling 2 balls. If it was candle pin or duck pin, it will be 3 balls. And just a kind of a quick note, all right, on those 10 pin and, on candle pin and duck pin, all right, on that third ball, it's impossible to get a spare or strike, all right, so it would just be a straight score. So you can actually get a 10 for the frame rather than a strike or a spare, which doesn't happen in 10 pin bowling. All right, so in this first one here in a 10 pin bowling game, all right, I roll in, I knock down 8, okay, the gutter of the alley is going to pick up the 2 remaining pins. All right, knock away the rest of them, okay, and then put the other 2 pins down so I can bowl again. All right, on that second bowl, on the second ball, I am going to roll, and it goes in the gutter, and I get 0. All right, so when you put a 0, you just put a line right through it. So the total pinfall, okay, for the first frame is going to be 8. Okay, and then you're going to move into the second one. All right, the second time. The first ball, I knock down 5 pins, okay, and on the second one, I actually knock down the other 5 pins, okay, so what we'll do, okay, is we can ignore the 21 there, all right, for a second, all right, but it'll be 10 pins, so just imagine for a second, okay, is that you knock down 5, you get a spare, so you get 10, so this will be 18, okay, and then my next roll, okay, is a 3. So you take 18, all right, and you add in the extra 3 on my first ball because it was a spare, all right, and that's where we get the 21. Okay, so we go 8, all right, 5, 10, okay, 18 here, plus my extra ball, 3, all right, so we get a final score in this frame is a 21. All right, in the third box, I've already rolled my 3 on my first ball, all right, in my second ball, I roll a 5. For a total of 29 pins that I knocked down. Okay, so I get 8 total pinfalls on the third frame. All right, I add that to the 21. I come up with 29. All right, so it's simple enough to follow. All right, on the fourth one, I roll an 8 on the first ball, a 1 on the second. All right, I add those together with a 29. I get 38. Okay, on the fifth one, I go 7. I go 1. Okay, I add that together. That's 8. 8 plus 38 is 46. Okay, and now we get to the sixth frame. The sixth frame, I roll a strike. Okay, so a strike is going to be 10. So we're at 56. Okay, and then on my next one, I roll a 9. Okay, so I add that 9 to this one. All right, I go from 56, okay, to 65. All right, and because it's a strike, I have to worry about my next one. All right, which is a spare. So you can add that extra 1 to get 66. Okay, so I rolled a strike. All right, I rolled my next two balls were a 10, so I add 20. All right, to frame 6. Okay, and then we're at 66. All right, frame 7. I have a 9. I got a spare. Okay, so I got 66, 76, and I got another strike. Okay, so I add that 10 back over here. All right, to get 86. Okay, so and you kind of move on from here. You got frame 9. Okay, I got another strike. All right, so now I'm adding it here, so it would be a 96. Okay, and my next ball is going to be an 8. So now you start adding it up. Okay, so I got 114. All right, my next one is 134. All right, I bowl a spare. Okay, and that gives me one extra one, which is why we have the third one, because there's no 11th frame. All right, I add it all together and I get 150. Okay, so the biggest thing here, and the thing that I notice a lot with our students in class, okay, is that when we get to strikes and spares, we just add 10, okay, and we leave it at that. So we just get total pinfall, which is fine, all right, in a phys ed class. But in case if you ever go bowling and need to do manual scoring, all right, just know that you're adding 10 plus, all right, whatever your next ball is, okay. So that's a just quick rundown on how to score bowling. Again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for doing this. Again, we miss you guys. I hope we see you guys soon. And hopefully in a few weeks we'll be back at Durfee and we can play some bowling, some bocce, all right, and other cool games that we get to do. All right. See you guys later.